Picture this. You're running through a building with a horde of zombies on your heels. Crashing through a closed door, you see the light. It's the outside. The exit's only 20 feet away. But wait, another zombie shambles out from the room on the right, completely blocking your escape. The zombies behind you are quickly closing in. Well, as quick as walkers can. But this one in front is running a solo gambit. You raise up your cricket bat, with every gasp for air being a burning pain in your chest and lungs, and swing as hard as you can, well, as hard as you're currently able to. The bat makes a loud thudding sound as the wood makes contact with flesh and bone, but the zombie seems unfazed. It lurches forward and grabs a hold of you by your shoulders. Before you can escape its grasp, the others behind you have caught up, and they all sit upon you at once, tearing into your flesh bite after bite, like undead human piranhas. That doesn't sound great, does it? No. This video is going to be a discussion on how not to let that happen, primarily by choosing the right tool for the job. Blunt weapons in zombie games are super fun to use, first person games anyway, although the sledgehammer in Days Gone does feel super satisfying. The way they impact zombies and send them flying about is always a satisfying feature. The only thing is, do you know how much force you'd have to strike a human with in order to sometimes literally send them flying? Me neither, but I do know that it's probably more force than you or I could exert. Not to mention, that's just for one zombie. What if there's 2? Or 3? Or 4? Or 5? Or you get the point. That's not going to happen. Even an Olympic athlete would gas out extremely quick, trying to swing a tool around time after time with that much force. So what am I getting at? I hear you say, through the monitor. Pointy sticks are greater than blunt clubs. That's what I'm getting at. In an apocalyptic situation, or just a localised outbreak, there are weapons that would be heavily sought after and be perfect for the job, and there are other weapons that would just suffice. In my opinion, sharp weapons would be infinitely better than blunt weapons, mainly for the reason above, but also due to the durability of zombies. How many zombie games have you played, or movies or shows seen, where the zombie gets shot in the body and barely flinches? Think about it. For me, it's almost every single one of them, and some of them are large calibers too. Now, if you fire a 7.62 into a zombie's chest and it doesn't flinch, what makes you think that you smacking it with a bat would affect it in any way? This is where my point might begin to make sense. The zombies, in most media anyway, don't feel pain or fear. They just pursue the prey indefinitely until they're put down. They tank hits and shots without wavering and just continue forward like Mr. X in Resident Evil 2. Unless you have the rocket launcher, obviously. I reckon a lot of people would die in a zombie outbreak or post-apocalypse by underestimating the durability of zombies for these reasons. They'd take a giant swing at a zombie and it wouldn't phase the thing. It would continue forward, grab onto whoever was nearest, and that would probably be the person that just took the swing. They are, however, still human to an extent. Still a human body at least. So, in theory, if you break bones then they wouldn't have the strength or capability to grab or move. But that still wouldn't phase them. And they'd keep coming, trying to bite your face off. Obviously, destroying the brain or severing the spinal cord would stop them in their tracks, but how would you do that with a blunt weapon, eh? Sure, you could probably cave their skull in with a bat or a crowbar or a 2x4, but you'd only have time in that situation for one good solid swing before the zombie's too close to you. And you never know. In the Walking Dead universe, it's pretty lenient most of the time in how much damage has to be done to the brain to kill them. But when Jenner shot test subject 19, it showed that not the whole brain comes back. Mainly just the brainstem for motor control and automation. So, really, if you clocked a zombie in the frontal lobe with a bat or something, even if it cracked or destroyed the skull, it probably wouldn't be killed. You would have to damage the only parts of the brain that were actually reanimated to actually end the thing, which would be super hard to do in a combat situation with a blunt weapon. Thinking about it, the only way to win that fight would be if the zombie was lying on its front or you were behind it, and you executed a perfect powerful swing and landed the blow at the base of the skull, where the stem is, like the brain stem is, and where it's relatively weak. But how many times do you reckon you could get that luck? Actually, in State of Decay 2, there is an execution your character can do on down zombies with a sharp weapon, where they grab the zombie's head, put the axe or machete, or whatever sharp weapon you're using, at the base of the skull, the zombie's lying on its back by the way, slice into the spinal cord, severing it, and destroying the brainstem, and then decapitate the zombie. So, yeah, that's what I had in mind. Circling back to TS-19 for a second, when Jenner shot her, it showed that the bullet went right through the brainstem and ended her. To me, that does kind of reinforce the idea that you need to damage that part of the brain, not just a random part that isn't reanimated. So otherwise, it wouldn't affect the zombie. I mean, it's not like you're going to give it brain damage and change its personality, you know? Something you may be thinking... what? Something you may be thinking, maybe even currently commenting below, is, yeah, sure, a bat or a crowbar or whatever probably wouldn't be weighted enough to do deadly damage to a zombie. But what if you had a sledgehammer, or a maul, or something super heavy that would deal crushing blows to the zombies, annihilating their skulls and pulverizing their brains? Yeah, that would be cool. Tell me, how many times do you think you could carry out a super heavy, forceful swing of something that weighted before you get gassed? I'm not sure, but I do know it's less time than the number of zombies that you could have to be contending with. Remember, Dying Light has a separate stamina bar for running in combat. You don't. You tire yourself out swinging a solid heavy weapon and you won't be able to run away when you have to. With all that said, let's get to the meat and potatoes of the video. The Meta Zombies IRL loadout. Personally, I'd rather have a sharp weapon. A sharp, pointy, secondary tool as well on my hip. And I'll get to that in a second. A screwdriver would be a genuinely solid choice, but I'm not ending it there, don't you worry. For my main dinging schwick tool, I'm conflicted. A machete would be excellent, as long as it was somewhat weighted in the head and that way it can make impacts more impactful. It would cut and slice through zombies all day long, provided you kept it sharp. And they're made for brush clearing, so they're quite durable too. I have one, well, two, named the Compound Machete, which, believe it or not, it's a machete that's a bit more compound than a normal one. It's a really nicely weighted machete, nice weight at the head, has a nice jagged curve in the blade which would definitely help with slicing, and it's pretty damn sharp. Not to mention the build quality is top tier, the spine is pretty thick but not too thick. I like this thing for zombies so much I actually, no joke, had a dream a couple of weeks ago about zombies breaking into my house. I ran into my tool room and chose that specific tool to defend the house with. It worked amazingly. Like usually in dreams, everything's pretty wavy. Like you're in water or sludge, the air's dead thick and you can't really swing. But nope, this went perfectly. First zombie came around the corner into the room, already had the machete raised high in the air, and brought it down right between its eyes, splitting its skull right open. The second zombie came in, these were runners by the way, the second zombie came in and I swung it hard horizontally and bisected its head in one fell swoop. Anyway, back to the imaginary life, imaginary real life instead of the dream. I'd almost definitely choose this machete as my primary tool, but for a second, let me ask you something. Yeah, an axe, you know, that's the next feature. An axe would be a great tool as a primary. Two, because it's designed for splitting and cutting things, you know? Its head is pretty weighted, as it's, you know, designed to be impactful. So it wouldn't take much effort at all to split a zombie's skull right down the centre, like the machete in the dream. With this weight, it actually probably split it all the way down to the top of the spine, so it would definitely take out the brainstem. A big-ish, full-sized axe would be awesome as well. And if you come across a locked door, you just have to axe it to... fuck. And if you come across a locked door, you just have to axe it to let you in. But why did I do that? I could actually just put it in the video. I have editing software. No. And if you come across a locked door, you just have to axe it to let you in. The only issue I have with the axe is that the blade is usually pretty short at the head, and if you miss one heavy swing, you're going to be wide open to be attacked. It's a devastating tool, but with everything like it, for every great aspect, there's a great negative. Machetes are designed for quick slashing motions, they're light, easy to use, durable, easily stored. So, to summarise the primary, I vote Danny Trejo. For a smaller, more efficient tool, I'd want a fixed blade knife with a hand or finger guard, something not too long, maybe 4 or so inches long, so that it can penetrate skulls and end the threat, but also short enough to draw and handle easily in close quarters situations. Say you get set up on by a zombie and it knocks you on the ground, you drop your machete and it lands 7 feet away. The zombie's still on top of you, biting and gnashing at your neck. What do? Well, with this little sidearm knife thingy, you draw it, slide it up into the zombie's brain, and that's it, dead. It's done. Easy. Just like that. Even if you don't drop the machete and still have it, but the zombie's still on top of you, you probably wouldn't have the space or angle to swing it into the skull. And, depending on the length of the machete, or where it was when you fell, you might not be able to readjust its direction, so you can actually slide it into the zombie's head. This is the reason I'd want a second sharp, pointy tool, as well as an actual weapon to use. I joked earlier about the screwdriver, but actually a screwdriver would be amazing. It's sharp, pointed, no blade, so even if it does have a finger guard, or doesn't have a finger guard, it won't matter. And the reason I'm talking about finger guards, by the way, I had a mishap with one of my knives a couple of years ago. I stabbed it down into some wood that I was cutting. My hand slid down off of the handle and onto the blade. The blade was serrated, well, part of it was. Sliced my hand open. Happened so fast and the knife was so sharp I didn't even feel it. I only knew I was cut when I saw the blood running down my arm. Well, hand and arm, you know. Still have the scar. Now, that was annoying and inconvenient for sure, but imagine you just plunged your knife into the zombie's head, splitting the skull, drawing a significant amount of blood, or sludge, whatever a zombie would bleed, but your hand slides down the blade and it slices you open. You may very well now be infected and screwed. Game over. So, yeah, if I had a knife as a secondary, it would need to have a finger guard. Honestly though, a screwdriver might just be a better choice. Easy to come by, no risk of slicing yourself open, don't need to sharpen it, super light, and they come in various lengths. Just jump into a hardware store and take a few, you know? So, with all that said, my recommendation for your zombie melee loadout in this current meta would be a nice machete and a screwdriver on your hip. Bob the Builder 2, Zombie Boogaloo.